Okay, so ever get that feeling? Your brain's just buzzing with ideas, right? All these things you're genuinely excited about, maybe a new hobby, starting that side project, or even just, finally getting organized.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Big plan.
Exactly. But then, nothing. You don't do them. Ambitious in your head, but kind of stuck in reality.
Uh-huh. Feet glued to the floor, as you said.
Does that sound familiar to you listening? Well, that's exactly what we're getting into today. If you're ambitious but lazy, please watch this video.
Catchy title.
It is. And we're basically pulling out the best bits for you, the core insights, the practical steps you can actually use. The goal here is to help you get moving, but without feeling, completely overwhelmed or like you need some magic motivation pill.
It really is a common thing, isn't it? That gap between wanting to do something and the inertia that just stops us.
Oh, okay.
And what's great about this video is how it breaks down these complex feelings into really simple, actionable strategies. And they're based on how our brains actually, how they work.
Okay, so the video kicks off by saying, look, if you've got these big ambitions, you're not actually lazy. The desire's there.
Right, that's important.
But when it comes to acting on it, there's this resistance and a huge part just feeling overwhelmed. Our brains tend to avoid tasks that seem too difficult or, uncertain.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense from a brain perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our minds are always looking for the easy path, trying to avoid potential threats, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a huge, vague goal. That can feel like a threat. The risk of failing, not knowing the steps, the sheer mental effort involved. So avoidance kicks in. It's almost like a protection mechanism.
And that leads to those distractions. Cleaning out your email inbox feels incredibly urgent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anything but the big thing.
So what's the fix? Forget the giant mountain of a goal. Just focus on the absolute tiniest first step.
Like really tiny.
Like if you want to write a book, just write one paragraph. Want to get fit? Do 5 squats, not 50, 5. Learning a language, just learn 5 new words. It almost sounds too easy.
It might seem that way, but there's actually good science here. Our brains get a little hit of that feel-good chemical even from tiny wins.
Okay.
And interestingly, even just anticipating those small wins can be motivating. It creates this subtle pull towards doing the next little thing. So each tiny success builds on the last, making the next step feel less daunting.
Nobody just wakes up and runs 26 miles. They start with short jogs, maybe even just walks first, building up. So instead of freaking out about the whole project, you just focus on sending that one email or making one call.
Precisely. And starting super small helps us get around that mental block our brain puts up against big, fuzzy tasks. You make the first step so manageable, you lower the perceived difficulty, the uncertainty, and it's just much easier to get started and get that positive dopamine loop going.
Okay, moving on. Super enthusiastic, 1 minute, completely gone the next. We've all had that burst of inspiration that just evaporates.
It's so true. Motivation gets talked up as the secret sauce. It's tied to our emotions, and emotions, they change constantly. Relying only on motivation for long-term goals, that's setting yourself up for inconsistency, frustration, really.
So if motivation is flaky, what's the dependable alternative?
Discipline. And they offer a really practical tip for building it. When your alarm goes off, just get up. Immediately. No hitting snooze, no debating it in your head. Maybe do some simple stretches straight away.
Bypass the argument with yourself.
Exactly. Minimize that internal debate. Acting right away on the alarm trains your brain to prioritize doing over feeling like doing. And the stretches idea is smart. It's low effort, gets you moving, breaks that initial sleepiness, that inertia.
Okay. So even if we aim small and try to be disciplined, there's still that moment, right? That paralysis before actually starting something. Procrastination kicks in.
The resistance.
Yeah. If a task feels huge, just commit to doing it for only 2 minutes. That's it. The examples are great. Instead of hitting snooze, just stay awake for 2 minutes. Room's a mess. Just fold one shirt, exercise, do 1 push-up, writing, type 1 sentence.
It sounds almost ridiculously simple, but it works because of something called behavior momentum. I think it's linked to psychologist Richard Heron's work. Anyway, the idea is that starting even that tiny action dramatically lowers the energy needed to keep going.
Like the snowball analogy they used.
Exactly like the snowball. The first push is the hardest. Once it's rolling, it picks up speed, gets easier to keep going, harder to stop even.
So you're kind of tricking your brain into getting started because 2 minutes feels like nothing.
Pretty much. The resistance is minimal. And often what happens is you start and you just keep going past the 2 minutes. That 1 push-up turns into 5 or 10. That 1 sentence becomes a paragraph.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's all about getting over that first hurdle. Our brains tend to overestimate the effort involved in starting. The 2-minute rule gives you a super low-stakes way in, bypassing that mental block and letting you feel the small win of just starting.
Our environment,
Yeah.
specifically the people around us.
Ah, the social influence.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Makes sense, right? If you hang around people who are always making excuses, putting things off, it's easy to slip into that yourself.
Definitely. It normalizes inaction.
If you're around people who are proactive, who are actually doing things, that can be incredibly, well, infectious in a good way.
It tacks into social norms and observational learning. We're always picking up cues from our surroundings about what's normal, what's expected, what's achievable. If your environment is full of action takers, inaction starts to feel like the odd one out. It naturally nudges you to match that energy.
And the video gives solid advice here. Find study groups, maybe work alongside friends, join online communities related to your goal, even just consuming inspiring stuff, podcasts, books, and having an accountability buddy. That's key. Consciously shaping your surroundings. It's about actively using the power of association to build an action-oriented mindset. When you surround yourself with people doing what you want to do, it creates this supportive vibe, reinforces your own efforts, gives you inspiration, and yeah, that accountability piece is huge.
Okay, now for a big one. I think this trips a lot of us up. Perfectionism.
Ooh, yes. The hidden procrastinator.
Exactly. You're waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect time, the perfect setup.
And of course, perfect never actually arrives.
Right, so you never start.
And psychologically, it often comes from a fear of failure, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or fear of judgment. By focusing endlessly on getting it perfect, we're really just trying to avoid the vulnerability of putting something imperfect out there, of maybe making mistakes.
I love the analogy they used of baby learning to walk. They fall down constantly, but they don't critique their technique and give up, right? They just keep getting up, keep trying, figuring it out. Progress comes from doing. Start messy, learn as you go, don't just plan forever.
Such a crucial point. Progress over perfection, every single time.
Yes. Waiting for perfect is just a recipe for staying stuck.
Embracing that start messy idea is liberating. It lets you break through the paralysis. It accepts that learning and getting better is messy. It involves trial and error. You have to actually engage with the task, even when it's rough around the edges.
Okay, last key insight. This one's kind of fun and maybe underrated. Rewarding yourself.
Ah, the self-bribery technique.
The point is, our brains love rewards. They respond really well to them. So you take a step, you get a little treat.
It's basic learning theory, really, operant conditioning.
Right. After you do that boring task you hate, or an episode of a show after you finish your study session, little celebrations.
And it works because you're linking the action, the thing you might normally avoid, with a positive feeling. That dopamine hit again. It literally strengthens the connection in your brain, making it feel less like a chore next time, less of a struggle to just start.
But, and this is important, you don't get the treat for planning to do the thing. You get it for actually doing it. It cements that link. Action leads to good feeling.
Absolutely critical. Reward after completion reinforces the behavior you want. Rewarding yourself beforehand, that can actually backfire and just reinforce the procrastination habit. You need that action-reward loop.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. We've pulled out some really practical gems from this video. First, small steps beat overwhelm. Tiny, manageable actions are your friend.
Break it down.
Second, discipline over motivation. Build habits, don't just wait for inspiration to strike.
The reliable engine, not the flaky friend.
Third, that 2-minute rule. Just start for 2 minutes to kill procrastination.
Get that snowball rolling.
Fourth, your environment matters. Surround yourself with action, not excuses.
Birds of a feather.
Fifth, ditch perfectionism. Start messy. Make progress. Progress beats perfect, always.
Absolutely. Just begin.
And finally, don't underestimate rewarding yourself after you take action. Bribe yourself effectively.
Reinforce those good habits.
So just like the video encourages, maybe think about that one thing, you know the one, that ambition that feels a bit stuck.
That thing you've been overthinking.
Yeah. Try applying just one of these ideas to it. Can you find the absolute smallest first step? Like almost laughably small.
Or could you just commit to working on it for only 2 minutes? Right now or later today?
Exactly. Pick that thing, take that tiny step, even if it feels insignificant, because as we've heard, that's how you start the ball rolling.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Now that you know how to get things moving with even the tiniest push, what seemingly huge, insurmountable goal might actually become possible if you just commit to that first, almost insignificant step today.